Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode 113 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 6. This is the penultimate round of the season, and if you watched the last episode at USA, if you did miss that, check that one out, because the entire championship got flipped on its head. It's really changed completely in the last 3 rounds, from Singapore to Japan to USA. It's completely been flipped round, because now Leclerc is in the driving seat for Ferrari at the top of the standings, Gasly in second place, and we're the one on the back foot. We're the one trailing by the most to the championship lead there after what was a very surprising second place for Leclerc at USA and even more surprising win at the Japanese Grand Prix. He's turned it around from that DNF at Singapore. Really, anything can happen. Never say never in Formula 1 is the favourite phrase of mine, and really, it really comes true in this season at the moment in our career mode of ours, because yeah, I did not expect to be in this position, but here we are, and this race now is very important. Like, make no two means about it. We have to outscore Leclerc and Gasly by any sort of margin, just to help us and set ourselves up for any chance to make a realistic charge for the championship title in that final race at Sao Paulo, Brazil. We know how hectic Brazil can be, how bad the dirty air and traffic can be, so I don't want to leave it to chance. We need to try and close the gap as much as we can here today. And we should have the tools at our disposal. I mean, generally speaking, the FOM car has gone very well around Mexico, and I've actually really enjoyed it, especially on this game. But we also have another spanner in the works. Before we even get to qualifying, we are met with this screen. So the engine's been fine. We've had some worn parts. We've had the energy store and the control electronics that have worn. But the turbocharger, you can see now, is worn to the point where it is going to lose us some power. The energy store just means we have less ERS, but that's fine. We've got a maxed out engine, which means the energy store, it doesn't matter if it's worn out. We have enough ERS for the entire race to deploy it every single lap wherever we want. Control electronics just means that every other part wears out quicker. But because of that, maybe it's meant that the turbocharger has got to a region where it's gonna lose us some actual power. Like, it's gonna get to proper brick yellow, brick orange, and will lose us some speed in straight line. So we've had to take the hits. Going into Mexico, we have changed the turbocharger. We've got a new one. The rest of the parts, the ICU, the MGUK, MGUH, those are fine. Those should be fine right to the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix for the final episode. But the turbocharger, that was already at a percentage point where I could already tell I was going to get a message from Jeff saying we're going to be down on power this race, let alone next race. So I'd rather take at least that hit. So by taking just one component, it means we have to take a 10-place grid penalty. So it's not right at the back. So if we were to go and aim for pole position, we would actually start the race in P11. So that is the aim for qualifying. That is what we're trying to do. Trying to qualify as high as we possibly can. It's going to be tough because I'm not usually a great qualifier, but this season, more than any other season, we've actually been the best at qualifying in terms of ourselves. This is the first season we've had actually multiple pole positions. It's the first season where I've got probably on the first or second row multiple times on Saturday. So if any season is to be one where we can do a job like this, it'll be this one. For whatever reason, we've just really clicked with this car this season in particular, with the, just the momentum we built, the rhythm we've got on a Saturday. So we're going to go out there and try and do the best job we can to try and limit the damage of this 10-place grid penalty. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, going into this race weekend, the cards are stacked against us. We're 11 points or so back from Leclerc in the championship, and now we've got a 10-place grid penalty in a race where we need to outscore both Leclerc and Gasly by a decent margin to close up 11 points. If you get a win and Leclerc gets second, that's only 7 points you're gaining on there. So we do need to actually try and outscore them by a fair margin and hope they fall down the order. So we're just going to have to go out there and do the best job we can, and then we'll see where Ferrari and Mercedes filter out. If you really look at it, Ferrari, Leclerc, they've not actually been that quick. Leclerc has gotten very lucky following his DNF in Singapore. USA, he only won the race because of the safety car. He was way back in P9 at Kota. And Japan, I mean, he was there, fair play, but again, maybe got a little bit lucky with the rain and the incident that we had with Russell, because I felt like we would have been right there fighting. So, Ferrari might still be on the back foot a little bit pace-wise. Mercedes, we know they've been very quick in the last 2 races. Verstappen probably should have won the USA Grand Prix, but he had a DNF, of course, so he might be another span in the works. He might be looking to get a revenge and looking to get a win here at Mexico, which might hurt our plans, because to be honest, we need to try and aim for a win if we can. A win would be very ideal if Gasly was to, be, in third place, something like that, and Leclerc a little bit further back. So we'll see. But at the moment, just getting through qualifying, of course. Q2 and Q1 a formality, obviously, these days for us and our team. But interesting to see there. Once again, one Racing Point did not make it through. The other did. Both Ferraris made it through. McLarens and also the Mercedes cars. Again, Red Bull fall a little bit there over one lap. But let's see what we can do over one lap. Bit of understeer in the first run at the top 10 shootout across the line. And it's P3 behind Ocon and Verstappen. And then Russell goes and gets provisional pole. So there's still some time in the car. So we've got to go out there and try and find that on this second run. So this is it then. We're lining up. This is the out lap, and we're lining ourselves up for this very important run. We have to aim for the front row to give ourselves the best shout with this 10-place grid penalty, but it's actually pretty bad news for us because in Sector 1, we actually lose some time. A little bit cautious maybe under braking. We're just not finding the bite in the front end. You can see we're just kind of hovering around 1.5 tenths down on our first flying lap there. We gain a bit of time, actually, ironically, oversteering that right-hander, and then the last corner will be understeered so much. This time we took a much tighter line, and that we've actually gained nearly a tenth there alone on the exit, and that may just be enough to get us on to the front row. Will it be? No, not quite, but the second row, third place there, but it's going to be George Russell that gets pole position, showing the car has some pace at Mexico, which is fantastic news for us in the race. It means that we have a chance. Our car is quick around here. We should be able to hopefully come back as long as we have a clean getaway and opening few laps. Norris there, the man who won the last race on the front row, so maybe he's going to be looking very, very quick. Gasly and Verstappen there, fourth, and surprise there. But what did I say about Ferrari? This is the pace they had at USA before the safety car, and Leclerc, he's bottled it. We've seen consistently Leclerc's been about 8 tenths quicker than Giovinazzi all season, so he's had a massive blunder here in Q3, so that's fantastic news for us. He's down in P10, so we'll only be 3 places behind him on the starting grid, so this is actually fantastic. This is the best we could have hoped for, I think, really, in qualifying. So now we're just going to go into the race, and we've got to execute a comeback drive and a half to try and aim for minimum, I would say, the podium. It has to be minimum the podium tomorrow for any good chance in the championship for the final round. Let's go to the grid.
Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what are the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. They must be starting to feel the pressure at this point, Ant. Surely. There's a real shot at the title on the cards here, but one error at the wrong time, well, that could throw it all away.
Of course, there's never a good time to make mistakes, but it will feel 10 times worse if it happens at such a critical point of the season. Let's hope this contest is settled where it should be, on track, wheel to wheel.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Gasly, Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, and Stroll, Giovinazzi, De Vries, Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz, Albon, Ricciardo, the owner driver, they've taken a grid penalty, and Bottas, Kvyat, Aitken, Mick Schumacher, and Nobuharu Matsushita. Latifi, Giotto, Hamilton, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Well, it's a very gloomy day here at Mexico. I really hope that is not a sign of things to come, but we're down here in P13 then. We've taken that 10-place grid penalty for the new turbocharger, and let's hope it's worth it in terms of rocking us up the grid, basically. But Leclerc, as I said, at the very end of qualifying, he really bottled that. You know, he's usually been so much quicker than Giovinazzi, but he was out-qualified by him and was down in P10. So he's not done himself any favours versus even Gasly. So Gasly actually has a great chance, more so than I do. Gasly has a fantastic chance of maybe taking lead the championship going into the final round maybe with this race, but it's going to be a tough Grand Prix for everyone involved because the tyre wear, if you remember, is usually quite high around here. It's a case of, do you risk it and go for 2 sets of soft tyres, or do you go a bit more conservative with 2 mediums? And then also, as we've clearly seen this season, slipstream's been very important, and on this game with this track, especially the main straight, it's going to be a big point of action and overtake. So I think I will say this before we get into this race. Unfortunately, as has been the case recently, my game and recording has been a little bit dodgy, and I do not have any replay cameras for this entire rest of this episode. So it's kind of an old school, old-fashioned, simple, just you'll be getting my T-Cam POV for the entire race, but hopefully that won't take away too much from the action, and hopefully it's not as crazy as it was at Baku where we're missing out on DNS and such. So let's get into this then. From P13 on the grid, this second last race of the season, we trail in the championship. This is a very, very important race, make no mistake about it. And so we go to 5 red lights, and we're underway here at Mexico. Ricciardo with a very good start on the right-hand side. It's been a bit of a shocker for us in 4th gear. So much wheel spin, and Kvyat and Aiken have flown past us in the Alpine and the Williams car. We go down to turn 1. This is the opposite of what we needed. There's a lot of chaos up ahead. There's a bit of contact made, and the Red Bull spews, and we're off circuit. The Red Bull pushed us wide. Ricciardo's out the Grand Prix, and he almost took us. He took us with us. We're down to P16. We've remained in P16, I should say, because that's where we were entering to turn 1. But that was nearly a complete calamity. That was almost devastation. We were almost taken out of the Grand Prix by Ricciardo as he was spewed out by the Alpine, I think that was. We now go and overtake Mick Schumacher, one of our original teammates in this career mode series, for P15 in the middle of lap number 1 onto lap number 2 and chasing after Mashasita. So we've settled down then, we've calmed ourselves, the nerves have calmed down a bit as they went a bit berserk. I can't lie, into turn 1, that wasn't lap 1, but now we're looking to try and just ease our way through the grid. These first few cars should be easy as we dance our way on the outside of the Alpine car up into P14. You know, the pace difference in terms of R&D is massive from us to these cars, so this should be the easy part. And then it's about, you can see up the road on the minimap where those red dots are, the Ferraris in P10 and 8 respectively on the grid. How can we fare against them? What will the dirty air and traffic be like as we send one down the inside of Aiken and we're up into P13? But look up ahead, it's already a bit of a mess. We've got Bottas ahead, then you've got Sainz, and I think that's, who is that? Albon, side by side with De Vries, that is, and Albon and De Vries having a ding-dong battle as we've gone and tried to go around the outside of Valtteri Bottas there, drag race in a straight line. The AlphaTauri doesn't seem like too bad of a car in a straight line. We're having to use a lot of ERS here down the main straight to get the move done up into P12, and now it's Sainz v Albon. De Vries has been dropped by Albon, and Sainz is trying to make his way through. There's neck and neck with Albon, bit of contact made with the Thai Brit as we want to make some contact with the De Vries behind us, but he's had to kind of back down for that fight, and so we're up into P11 then, so making some good progress. But can we continue into the next complex of corners? Albon at the moment looking on Sainz, but we're going to send one down, and that is a very opportunistic move and a very cheeky one indeed, if I might add, and we're up into P10. So after a pretty, I've got to admit, disaster lap 1, we've actually made up for it now. In 3 laps, we've gained 6 positions, and we're up into P10, and now Sainz, with a bit of a rear-end wobble as the tyre wear already kicks in for him on the soft tyres, we're able to overtake him on the exit of that corner with a purple first sector as well, and we're now firmly in the points-paying positions, P9, and we can actually see Leclerc up the road now. So this is the only unfortunate major issue with not having replay cameras. I can't really show you where everyone is, but we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix now because we're the only car really in the top 10 in clean air, because at the moment I believe Russell is in the lead still, but he's battling Verstappen, who's very close behind, and I think Gasly is somewhere in the region of P3 to 4, but Leclerc, the man leading the championship, the man 11 points ahead of us, he's struggling to even overtake his teammate. What's going on here? But it's maybe not surprising, because like I said, this is where he was at COTA. The Ferrari has really dropped off in pace in the last few races, and he's got the championship lead out of pure luck really of the safety car and such, because this is where he was at COTA, until the safety car came out, and obviously his hard tyre strategy paid off. So, you know, we can definitely overtake him at some point in this race. At the moment, it might be tricky, though, because as we're starting to close up here, and we're getting closer and closer to him and Giovinazzi, the tyre wear is kicking in, and so that's making the job even harder, let alone the dirty air and the traffic you find around here in the middle sectors. So we're going to try and come in a little bit earlier, as we always plan to, as I always do at Mexico, try and get that undercut. So we're going to come in on for the medium tyres. I'm not too sure at this stage what everyone else is going to be doing. They may come on for another set of softs, because that was obviously there on the strategy window, but I feel like the tyre wear is high enough, and it has been, you know, high enough this entire season, that I think the mediums will be the better race tyre. These softs definitely, as soon as I got underneath Leclerc's wing, you saw there for, you know, 2-3 laps, I was stuck behind him in sector 3. I just couldn't find any sort of grip and acceleration off the last corner to get him. But the only issue is I've come out, as you can see, in the middle of some traffic here of Latifi, Kvyat, Hamilton, even in the Alfa Romeo, of course, our old teammate from earlier on this season, and he swapped obviously positions with Russell. But here we are then looking to make some moves, and it's going to be a very, very close move on Kvyat, but a very nice one in the end to get the rush in the middle of sector 2. Then we go for a late lunge on the inside of Hamilton, and Hamilton's going to squeeze us in and give us no room. We're alongside him. It was a bit of a late lunge, I admit, but we were there alongside him. But Hamilton now parks the bus, parks the stadium, just outside the stadium in Mexico, and we get a massive rear end twitch, as I just can't find the grip, too eager on the throttle, and so in the end of it, we actually lose the position to Kvyat. So it had to be Hamilton, of course, in a championship fight. Our old teammate, the one we were trouncing at the beginning of this season, is the one that's holding us up, and I get a flashback from turn 1, lap number 1, because we almost get sent wide by Kvyat there locking up, and we in the end get the move done on both those cars. But that was so much more difficult than it had to be, and we lost some time then to Leclerc, because he's actually come out on the road there, you can see ahead of us. He's chasing after Norris, and he's actually gained a bit of time there, I think, because he wasn't that close to Norris. I think Norris was a little bit further up the road, so I think Ferrari have actually had a bit of a blinder there with keeping Leclerc out. I think they've left Giovinazzi out, so maybe that's a tactic for Ferrari to try and get Leclerc swapping with Giovinazzi, because they've left Gio out to dry then on those soft tyres that are surely going to be wearing out. And up the road, look at that, top left, Leclerc has just done a double overtake. Huh? He's just overtaken Norris and Kyoto. Yes, he's done it. And as we come through onto lap number 13, we're going to chase after and close up to Norris, the man on the front row, remember. He qualified in second, but Lando's got no pace at the moment on the softs here in the second stint. We're up into P10, but what did I say? Ferrari have done the classic Ferrari thing. They've left their second driver out to dry, and they swapped them round in the pit stop strategy, and Leclerc is now ahead of Giovinazzi, and Leclerc is actually looking a little bit quicker now, it would seem, on this second set of soft tyres. So let's see, but we're now behind Gio. The difference is here, though, we're on mediums that I do feel are more consistent, and now we're in a position to maybe overtake a Ferrari today. We tried so hard to get Leclerc in the first stint, didn't work out. Can we get Giovinazzi? Here we go. He's going to squeeze us a bit, but doesn't give us up too much of a fight, considering his teammate is in a championship fight with us. I guess he didn't get the memo from his team to put up a massive scrap with us, and so we're able to actually get him pretty easily into turn 1 for P7. So once again, we're chasing after Leclerc in this Grand Prix, but into turn 1 on lap 16, we've got Ocon v Stroll, the McLaren v the Racing Point, and that's going to get a little bit tasty for Leclerc as well, as he's going to go try and overtake. Stroll's got no pace on those softs, it would seem. We're going to use a bit of ERS and try and jet down the inside, be a little bit harsh on him and go very wide, nearly off circuit actually indeed, to overtake him, but needs must, because we need to keep up with Leclerc, because now we're in the DRS zone. He's not got DRS off Ocon, so he's susceptible to an overtake. This could be it. This is crucial for our race, crucial for our championship, to overtake Leclerc into turn 2. Easy does it. Give him the room, give him the respect, but we get the job done on the exit of that third turn, and we're up into P5, and we keep marching on. And in fact, Stroll's actually going to attack Leclerc then behind us, so if that could happen, that would be great for us. But we continue to look ahead of us, because we need to try and aim, like I said, for the podium, especially if Gasly's there up in the top 3. And Ocon, bit of a sitting duck here. The McLarens, a bit of an enigma this race. They look quick in qualifying, at least in the hands of Norris, but you know, when it comes to the race pace in a straight line, the McLarens are not that quick this episode for some reason. Saying that though, Ocon actually comes back at me a little bit here, ironically, on the exit, but we are going to maintain that, and then we can go chasing after Pierre Gasly, who is in P3, having a fantastic race. But now The full course safety car has been called out. Only a matter of laps before our second pit stop. So we're going to probably come in and get a free pit stop here. Luca Giotto out of this Grand Prix. The Williams car parked it up somewhere, I think, and so that's caused a safety car. And we are going to box in this lap. Russell's also in, though. So we're going to double stack. Mercedes are also going to double stack. So Gasly's going to get held up. Look at that. Gasly already is going to get held up because that's Verstappen just coming out of his pit box. So we might actually have a chance. Where's Russell? Russell's just left his pit box. We might have a chance. If this is quick enough, come on, lads. This might be quick enough to jump Gasly in the pit stop, in the pit lane. There we go. It's a 4-second pit stop. Nothing amazing, but it's quick enough because Gasly's been held up by incoming cars. And in a flash, under the safety car, we've overtaken Gasly in the pit lane. And we're now a net P5 in this race because Albon and Sainz are legit ahead of us because they went on to the hard tyre. So they're going to the end on a one stop, I guess, or a very audacious, weird 2-stop. I don't know what's going on there, but we're now on the restart of the safety car. Lap number 22, Russell still leads the way. Verstappen is still in P2. That battle's been going on since the beginning of this race. But now Leclerc is in P7, we're in P5, and Gasly is down in P8. So it's all been swapped once again, once more in this race, in this season. And so let's go. It's a bit of a sprint race now for the last stint to the end of this one, and it's going to be very hectic as into turn one. Verstappen goes for the race lead. Russell comes back and the two are side by side. We're going to get caught up a bit and try and catch Albon caught up behind Sainz. Bit of a domino effect as they all slowed up there, and we've overtaken the Racing Point car and now looking to overtake Sainz. Surely this should be a fairly okay move. The Red Bull's not been very quick this season, and behind us there's been a kerfuffle because Lance Stroll has got a 5-place penalty, you can see on the top left there for some reason. So no matter where Stroll is, he may give some free positions to some people, which may be important because Leclerc and Gasly are right next to each other. I think I can see on the minimap. I think Leclerc is in P8 and I think Gasly's in P9. So that's very important. If Stroll's within 5 seconds, he could give some free positions to those guys. So that could be very important in terms of seeing where everyone finishes for the points and the championship. But at the moment, we are now closing up on Sainz, looking to overtake him. Couldn't quite get close enough in Sector 2, which is surprising on the mediums v hards. But of course, I'm taking it a little bit cautious because I need to make sure these mediums go to the end. But I definitely think the mediums were the better tyre. Everyone's been way too conservative, in my opinion, now on the hard tyres because I was about to come in anyway on lap 22 for my second set of mediums, let alone with the safety car being on lap 20. So for some reason everyone's gone very cautious, I guess because of the soft compounder tyre stints. But here we are then in a straight line. Easy does it up into P3. Russell's P2, and it looks like Verstappen's kind of got him cover off, so we'll see how this goes. Lap number 30, and it's actually Stroll that's come back through to not only overtake Albon and Sainz, but now he's coming to overtake me, the man with a 5-second penalty. So we're not going to give him too much of a fight, because remember, we'll get the position back because he's got the penalty. But at the same time, if there's half a chance I could catch up to Russell, who is looking like he's struggling a bit on those hards, then I want to try and be in that position. So at the moment, as we get a bit of oversteer there, we are overtaken by Stroll. But let's recompose, get our head back down, and try and re-overtake Stroll if we can, and see what we can do. In the meantime, Gasly is up into P6. So Gasly's overtaking Leclerc somewhere in this last part of this race. We now are side by side and we get the move done on Stroll. We're back up into P3. And now, with 4 laps to go and 1.7 the gap is, can we try anything to close up and get one more little position in this race for P2? Lap 34. 1.2 the gap. We are gaining a bit, but is it enough? Is it going to be enough by the last lap of the Grand Prix? I'm not too sure, but yeah, to confirm, Gasly has overtaken Leclerc somewhere. Of course, I don't know where or how, because we don't have any replay cameras, but he's overtaken Leclerc. He's up in P5. I don't know where Leclerc is. I assume maybe just behind him, because those two were literally side by side with each other in terms of positions earlier on in the Grand Prix. But we're going to have to update you about that at the very end of the race. So it's all a bit up in the air, and even I don't know at this stage what this race order is looking like and what this means for the championship. But here we are then on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Like I said, we might have half a chance to overtake Russell for one more position and 3 3 more points in the championship. Here we go. Can we get the exit? We need no. Bit of oversteer with the tyre wear maybe finally kicking in on the mediums. It makes sense. Eventually, the hard tyres will be the better race tyre for me because obviously these are just going to wear out. And so as much as we're getting so close, the fanfare's out, the confetti's out, and Max Verstappen gets revenge for last time out at USA, and he goes on to win this Mexican Grand Prix. Russell in P2, but we come home in a really great P3, I must say. From P13 on the grid, P16 after turn 1 with that chaos. I think we've done very well, but the big question mark is where on earth are Gasly and Leclerc, and what does this mean for the standings?
It's a performance to be proud of from our Mexico City Grand Prix winners. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today and the results speak for themselves.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Verstappen's had his fair share of bad luck, I must admit, this season, so it's kind of nice to see him back up there on the top step of the podium, winning the Mexican Grand Prix. Of course, like I said, he got so unlucky, literally. He probably would have gone on to dominate the USA Grand Prix if it wasn't for that engine failure or mechanical failure he had last time out, so it's kind of nice to see him kind of get a bit of a karma in a sense. But for us, double podium for the constructors, that's great. But here we are then. Gasly finished up in P5 then, so he wasn't close enough to benefit from the 5-second penalty of Stroll. He was a bit far off there, but Leclerc really dropped off. He was ahead of Gasly in P5-ish, and he's actually dropped down to P8 behind Ocon, and Sainz couldn't, do anything. I mean, Sainz was falling away, but not enough, clearly, and even Giovinazzi fell away, so the two Ferraris, I mean, that's where their pace was at USA, so I guess that's where their true pace was at the end of that one. I think they definitely, the Ferraris definitely got caught out of that safety car that time. Leclerc got so lucky with the safety car in USA. This time, clearly, their tyres just didn't heat up or whatever, or click in at the end of the race, and Gasly's did, very much like Italy, if you remember, and he came back for a storming drive, because I think he was P8 at the safety car restart. So it's a great day for Gasly in that sense, for him versus Leclerc, but for us, it's an even better one, because, oh my god, this is outstanding. We have done an absolute blinder here, lads. 197 points, 2 points ahead of Leclerc now, and 3 points ahead of Gasly going into Brazil. Oh my words. Well, this race really has been an absolute stonking one, because we've set up a fantastic finale at Sao Paulo where there's only 3 points in it between myself, Leclerc and Gasly, and once again the championship lead has swapped and it's been flipped on its head. I've gone from P1 down to P3, back up to P1 in the span of 4 races of this season. At the very end here, this is madness. It's really been a roller coaster, and I'm sure it's going to be more of the same in the final race of Sao Paulo. But guys, this was one heck of a Mexican Grand Prix. If you guys did enjoy it, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.